welcome to Berry Yarny Adventures, episode 7. My name is Tanya and I'm coming to you from southeast Minnesota where my family and I run Firefly Berries, which is a fruit farm specializing in strawberries, grapes, and where I dye naturally dyed yarn with the plants that we grow on our farm. So hello everybody, welcome. It is great to be checking in with you again to let you know and share with you what I have been working on. So if you're new to this podcast, welcome, and if you are a returning listener, welcome back. So it has been about 3 weeks, I think, since I have come to you last, and the last time I podcast, I was kind of not really having much knitting mojo, but I have to say that my crafting mojo has come back, and even though I'm not making things that I would typically make, I am enjoying my crafting, whether it's crocheting or knitting, or even I have a little cross stitch to share with you today. So I have all sorts of things to share, so maybe let's just get started. I'll start with what I'm wearing. I am wearing the Girl from the Grocery Store shawl by Joji Locatelli, and I've shown this one before. This is out of Berry Fun Yarns, a yak silk base that I do not currently have in the shop, but that I am experimenting with, and then the lighter color is in my MCN, which I call Jewel. I call it Jewel because that's a variety of strawberries that we actually carry on our farm that we grow. So that's a really comfy shawl. The words are escaping me today. Sorry about that. And the sweater I'm wearing is actually quite old. Let me see if I can take this off so you can see underneath of it. This is the Malin sweater. So it has a really cool kind of lacy pattern down the front. Otherwise it's pretty simple raglan top-down sweater. And it is by Isabel Kramer. I actually finished this sweater in 2016. It's been quite a while, and it's one of my favorite go-to sweaters because it's very simple, it's very comfy, and I made it out of Cascade 220 superwash, which is kind of a workhorse yarn, and it withstands a lot. I actually tend to use, if I'm going to pick any sweater to go outside and do work outside when I want to be a little warmer, this is the one I pick. However, because of that, since I podcast last, I had some holes that sprung up on my elbows. So what I did, this is one of my first finished objects, we'll go right there, is I had a really big hole kind of right here from the wear. And I had remembered that Joji Locatelli had come up with a pattern. It's actually called the Madewell. And in that sweater pattern, she actually has decorative patches on the elbows. So I thought, why don't I go and get that pattern and make the patches for my sweater? So that's what I did. And the patches, let me come closer so you can see. They look kind of silly, and dropping things. If I were to make them again, I like the pattern of the patches. They were very easy to make. They use kind of a basic linen stitch to kind of give it the look that it has. It sort of has a textured look, and the pattern actually calls for, I want to say it calls for 5 colors because that's what's in the sweater. And I only used 2. I kind of was trying not to buy yarn. So I used, the sweater itself is worsted weight, but the patches are fingering weight. And it was a Rowan non-superwash. I'm spacing on what it was. I'll write it on the screen if I can find it. Pretty sure it's in my project page. But it was kind of all I had in my stash, and I didn't want to buy anything. So if I were to make them again, however, I would pick less contrasty colors. What I really wanted was something with gray in it and like maybe some pinks, or maybe kind of more like the color that's in the shawl that I was wearing. but I didn't have that. So I made them. It's fine, not a big deal. So right now it is very functional. Oops, punching Betty Lou here. It's very functional, but I don't especially love the vibrant color. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to make some new ones as soon as I find a color that I like, because it didn't take me very long to make them. And then I can just detach these and save them maybe for another sweater and put the other ones on. But they were pretty easy to knit and very simple to sew on as patches. And it makes one of those sweaters that you love, like I love this one, last a little bit longer and kind of, I don't know, just kind of made a decorative patch out of it. You know, what is it called? Decorative mending kind of, but knitting style. So that was the first finished project I had. The second one that I finished, let's go over here to this. Actually, before I do a second finished project, this sweater I did not knit. However, this is my tangent for you today. When I have time, I like to go to secondhand stores like Savers or Goodwill in the United States here, and I like to hunt for sweaters that are 100% wool, or sometimes I'll hunt for, long sleeve shirts that are 100% cotton. I have an issue with thick polyester. It makes me itch, so I do like to go and hunt. Well, this sweater is 100% Shetland wool, and I paid $3 for it, and it's just a simple, it looks to me like it has set-in sleeves, but it's just a simple kind of sweater that I can wear with jeans, and I like the color. It fits pretty good. It's a tad bit long for me, so I can wear it with leggings, but it doesn't quite hit me at the right spot. But for $3, it's really warm, and I love it around the house. It has a nice high collar, which is great. So that is my random tangent tip for you today, is if you have time, go to a secondhand store and I just kind of, when you are used to knitting or crocheting or making with fibers that are 100% natural or mostly natural wool, you can usually walk down in your size and you can feel it and you can be like, yeah, that feels like it is made of wool. And then you can check the tag on the inside if it's there for content. This sweater, I was lucky enough that it was in my size and in a style that I was okay with. But I have gone shopping. One time I went shopping and I found a 100% cashmere sweater. I'm having issues talking today. Cashmere sweater, and it was kind of like this tanny, like sandy brown color. And I still have it, but I didn't like the style of it. It was actually too big for me. So I ripped it out. You can kind of look inside. If you look at the seams, like you can see this seam here, it kind of looks like a seam where, it would be easy. It looks like this was sewed. But it would be easy for you to rip the seam apart, and it's been knit in large sections, so like maybe you wouldn't be able to save the collar on this sweater if you took it apart, but you could take the yarn apart, wash it, reskein it, and then use it for a different project. So I have some 100% cashmere yarn that I got for like $5, and it's a sweater's quantity, waiting for me to make something out of it. So do not overlook the secondhand store for good finds on natural fibers. So that's my tip. I just thought Betty Lou, that's the name of my mannequin, I thought that she looked much nicer in a sweater today because it's kind of cold in Minnesota. So she is wearing my sweater from Goodwill. But the other thing she was wearing is my finished Hillview Road cowl. So let's see if you can see it there. Now again, if you watched episode 6, you probably heard me talk about how I didn't like the pattern on it. I think what I was doing, as I looked back more closely, is I think I was just using too small of a needle for the pattern. But because I really wanted the cowl to be warm and actually be kind of a snug, warm cowl, I didn't I didn't want to sacrifice the size of my needle for my comfort, so instead I changed the pattern. So that's another tip. Don't always have to follow patterns. You can modify them to fit. So it is, the fancy pattern is the rows here. It's kind of a slip stitch pattern. And then I did 2 rows of each in stockinette until I got to the end where I did the pattern again and then the twisted rib bind off. But I was holding, this was again a scrappy project, and I was holding 2 colors together to make kind of an Aran weight. I think I was holding a Sport Cascade Superwash with a Plymouth worsted is what I was holding. But yeah, so that will be a gift for someone this holiday season. But I think it looks super cozy and warm, all washed and ready to be gifted. And then the second, actually we're on third, the third project I finished is actually a blanket. You will remember, actually I finished 3 blankets in varying sizes. Those are my last 3. So I'll start with, let's start with this one. So you may have remembered I have been working on a blanket of calm that is a pattern by Casapinka. And basically it is tiny little granny squares knit in fingering weight scraps that you then single crochet together to make a scrappy blanket. Well, I had made 161 or 162 little squares, and last time I talked about this project, which has been a while, I decided I was going to take my brightly colored squares and intermix them with this color, which is Knit Picks, let me see, I wrote it down so I got it right for you. Knit Picks Hawthorne Kettle Dye in the Macadam colorway, or Macadam colorway. And I love the coloring of it. And it would have been fine, but since I podcast last, my husband had 2 cousins who gave birth to baby girls. And I had knit one baby sweater. I thought I'd make another baby sweater, but I had knit kind of, I know it's subjective, but it was a sweater that was a little more masculine than it was feminine, which really didn't matter. But because I have 4 boys, I think the opportunity to knit something pink is always a good option for me. So I decided I had all these squares made, so I did some math and I figured some things out. And I decided to make, out of the 162 squares, I could do a 9 by 9 blanket that would take 81, and I could do 2 blankets out of these squares, and then I could be done with the square project. Because to be completely honest, the idea of crocheting 160 of the same colored square was not appealing to me at all. Even though it only takes me 10 minutes or so to crochet a square, it did not sound fun at all. So instead, this is one of the things. This is the first blanket. I'm not finished with the second one, but let me see if I can hold it up. So this is the first one. And what I ended up doing is I had these middle squares all done. And I had these, my boys and my husband for several years had got me a subscription to Knit Crate. And so for like Mother's Day or my birthday or something. So when anybody who's been in a yarn subscription club like that, you will know and understand that sometimes, unless you do it with an indie dyer and you love all of the things they dye, when you get random skeins from random dyers that you don't know anything about, it is kind of fun sometimes, but sometimes it's like, what am I going to do with this yarn? So my subscription had changed, and for the last 6 months I had been getting 2 skeins of every color. So, which was great if you wanted to make a shawl. It was all usually fingering or sport weight. I guess once I got worsted. So it was a mix. It was great if you wanted to make a bigger project, but if you didn't really love the color, it kind of just sits in your stash. But I had gotten this, it was pretty enough. It was by Yuru Yarn, and it's their sugared sport base. What made me think of this one is that, if you look close, can you see the sparkle? I don't know if you can see the sparkle, but it has 10% sparkle in this silver part. So I thought, well, sport, that's pretty close. I could use sport with my fingering weight. So I did, and I had to alter what I ended up doing, not being very good in my explaining here, is that for each square, I crocheted one more round around the granny square to give it an edging, and then I crocheted them together. So I had to alter the edging just a little bit because it was thicker, where instead of crocheting in every single, what do you even call that? My crochet vernacular is blah. Every little crochet spot, every little bump, I crocheted 2 in one and then I skipped one. So that way it kind of evened out. Anyway, the result turned out very pretty. It did pucker, if you look at it closely. I can tell some places where it puckered a little bit because the sport yarn was thicker than the fingering weight, or maybe like some of my fingering, like this one was a really light fingering, whereas this one was a heavier fingering. And so that would be my one recommendation. If you are going to make one of these scrappy blankets where you make squares like this, use all light fingering. If you're going to do, say, like sometimes you have fingering skeins that are like 460 yards for 100 grams versus 400 yards to 100 grams. Try to stay really close to the same, because they really do, the size of the squares comes out different, and that can be really frustrating. So that is one thing I learned about scrappy crochet projects through this one. So I sewed them all together, and then on the edge I did one round around the whole thing of a single crochet, and then I did a little scallop edge you can see on the edge, and then I blocked it. And it smells really good right now. It has like a nice lavender smell. And you can see on the back where I crocheted the single crochet them together, there is a little bump there, but it looks cute. Yeah, so that one is all set and ready to go out in the mail. And then the other, I had, let's see how many I had. I had 25 of these squares already done. And I thought, well, I don't really want to throw them out. I have 3 cats, and one of them in particular is a shorter-haired cat, and she loves to have wool blankets in the wintertime. She loves them on her cat condos. She loves them on the edge of the bed. So I thought, well, I'll just make Soleil a little tiny blanket. So that's what I did. I just sewed these together. And then on the edge, you can kind of see there's a little different color there. I single crocheted around the edge with some scrap One Twisted Tree BFL prime yarn that I had in the Into the Forbidden Forest colorway. So really simple. Had that finished, and that was for my kitties. Before I had actually finished that one, I did a granny stripe blanket for my cats as well. This one is quite a bit brighter, and these are just random little leftovers I had around. A lot of these are un besito fibers that I had used to make a square for the granny square blanket, and I had just a little bit left over to put in my big granny stripe blanket. Now my big granny stripe blanket is for one of my boys when they go off to college. So I was not putting in the super bright ones as much because I know that they mostly prefer the darker colors or the more jewel tone colors. So that's the other little blanket. So I made 2 cat blankets and a big baby blanket and my patches and the cowl. Those are my finished objects. So 5 things there to share with you. So what is on the needles now? I did cast on a few things since I talked with you last. The first one is another gift. These are some worsted weight kind of house socks. I had never used Knit Picks Chroma worsted before, and I didn't realize that it was a single ply. Do you see? which I love single ply. It's super soft, it's nice yarn. However, I was a little concerned, even though it had nylon in it, it's 30% nylon, that it might not wear great because of the ply on it not being a tight enough twist. So I am holding my chroma worsted, let me see what color it is, I wrote it down here. It is in, oh, I don't even know. It's on my project page. It's probably a random number. Oh, here it is. It is number 1902. It doesn't give it a number or a name. 1902. It comes in this nice little, already wound up for you. But I am holding that double with some blue Cascade sock. I think it's called Cascade Heritage in just a solid blue. And what I'm making are these, I'm using the pattern Rye, the Rye Socks pattern by Tin Can Knits. And it's there's a purl section on the front, which is really cute, but it makes the sock kind of fold in, so it's hard to show you. But I finished the heel. See, I'm just doing a basic heel flap on the back, and I think I'm following the pattern pretty closely. But it's turning out really cute. The chroma worsted has kind of a nice, not really gradient, but sort of, the blues blend into each other. And then that coupled with the solid blue that I'm holding double is really turning out nice. So those are going to be a gift for Christmas. I have, it's for a small foot, I think. She only has like a size 6.5 or something. So I don't have too much more to knit before I'll be able to start the toe. And being that they're a thicker yarn, they will go fast. So, and I am using Hiya circular needles. I love the bamboo needles, and I'm using a size 5, which is kind of small, I think, for most people. But, let me see if it says. Oh, I'm wrong. It's a US size 3, so that's even smaller. But yeah, I am a very loose knitter, so that is the gauge that I wanted, and I was kind of testing the sizing out, and that seemed to be about what I needed to get the right circumference for the foot that I am making these for. So the Rye House socks, and then I really wanted some Christmas socks for myself. And I don't know if any of you follow the wonderful Amy Florence of Stranded Dye Works on her Stranded podcast, but she has the festive sock knit along during October and November, where you knit a pair of socks that are festive, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah, or you just think they're festive colors. And so I thought, well, maybe I can finish my socks by the end of November. So I cast on these, and it is a simple, my favorite rib on the top is a knit 3 purl 1. And sometimes I do carry that down the leg if I'm doing a simple, but this one I didn't. So I did a knit 3 purl 1 and then 64 stitches, and the yarn is from a homespun house. It is called Home for the Holidays. But yeah, I'm just knitting them on my size 0 bamboo needles, and here's the yarn in the cake. And I love them. I'm feeling kind of guilty if I knit on them too much because they're for me, and I do have the most socks of anybody in the house, but then I'm the one making the socks, so I think I get to decide who I make them for. So that's that. I have that in my super cute box winter bag I got from Rick at Whimsy Stitches. Love that bag. So socks, 2 pairs of socks, and then I'm working on, sorry, I'm looking at my notes to see so I don't forget. I'm working on the other baby blanket. So you can kind of see, here's my basket. I got this cute little basket at Target the other day, and it's perfect for my scrap blankets. So I have about, I think I have about 25 or so, 25 or 30 of the squares left to put the edging on. And this time I am putting the edging, it is it's hard to see, there you go. It's sort of like a pale yellow, and it is a Berry Fun Yarns sparkle, very tough sparkle, and it is in the butter colorway, which is just a very pale yellow color. So I will finish those, and then I've decided that I'm going to do the scallop edging with this pretty pink color, which is some remnants I have left from a One Twisted Tree skein. I don't know what color it is, but Danny's not dying anymore, so it's kind of a moot point. But yeah, so this is the other big project. I have really just, I've been in a crochet place a lot. I haven't been knitting on my socks as much, and I think partly it's because I want to get this done. And the idea that this huge project you've been working on for a long time is almost going to be like gone and out, and somebody's going to be enjoying it. I love that idea, but also it's so mindless. It takes me 5 minutes to crochet around the edge, and apologies if you hear that loud humming, singing noise. That is my youngest son, Lincoln, singing. Boy. Anyway, I love the brainlessness of this, the pilot knitting, automatic pilot knitting that it takes. I can do one round around the edge in like 5 minutes. So if I'm listening to one of my kids when I'm schooling them, if I'm listening to them play piano for half an hour, I get 6 done. If I'm listening to them read to me for 15 minutes, I get 3 done. Or if I, whatever it is we're doing, they're super easy to do on the go. And I've been spending, family side note here, is that we have been spending a lot of time helping our oldest son, who is a senior this year, apply for college. And because he is a music dance guy, he has to do auditions and scholarship auditions and portfolios and resumes and all this kind of stuff to be admitted into the dance and music program. Oh, there's a meow. My kitty was sitting next to me. So anyway, my brain has been kind of gone. And as a homeschooling parent, you're kind of the guidance counselor and you're the teacher, so you have to fill out all of the transcript stuff, and it's never the normal way that you think it should be, because anyway, that is a whole nother story, and this is a knitting podcast and not a homeschool podcast. But if you have questions about that, or you are a homeschool parent, feel free to message me, and I would be happy to chat with you about it. So that's pretty much it for fiber projects I've been working on. The other thing that I don't know if any of you remember, this is a long time ago, I was going to be working on this cross stitch. It is 7 by 5 inches, which, okay, 7 by 5 inches, that shouldn't take you that long, right? Not so much. I wanted to have this finished for my grandma for Christmas, but it is not probably going to happen because, look, this is as far as I am. I am doing good, but it's taking me a lot longer. And I kind of go in fits and starts, so I'm not going to stress about it too much. I have a backup plan for her gift, and if she doesn't get it until Valentine's Day or whenever I finish it, it will be in the mail to her for a just because present. So if the spirit moves me and I end up finishing it, great, but if not, so be it. Okay, so before I say goodbye, I wanted to just share a couple things that I have on deck, things that I hope to cast on soon, and of course this will very likely change, but these are the things that I am most interested and excited to do. My first one is a shawl. Now I have another shawl on the needles that I have not knit in a while, but it is in fingering and mohair. It is the Birds of a Feather shawl by Andrea Mowry, and I do love that shawl, but it has been a long time since I've knit on it, and it is fingering and mohair, so it takes a lot longer to make progress, right? This one, I found these two skeins This is Berry Fun Yarns in the DK All-Star Blackberry colorway. It's sort of a light purpley gray. And I had these two skeins, these beautiful two skeins. I had them skeined up and they were set aside for me to make a comfort fade cardi. But then when I went to go look at the colors that I had set aside to go with it, I was like, I don't know if those look quite right with it. So I pulled them out and I thought, well, what can I make with that? And I pulled out this pattern by Joji Locatelli that I had printed quite a long time ago. It is called the Autumn Blush Shawl. And it is in DK weight, and it's just got this beautiful stitch pattern with some ribbing and a picot edging. And I thought that would be really nice. I only have one other, do I? I actually don't think I have any other DK shawls. I had one, and I was kind of not bringing me joy anymore, as Marie Kondo says, so I donated it to an organization where they are in need of warm winter items. So this one will be my next one to cast on. I'm hoping that won't take me very long because it's only two skeins of DK, and DK tends to knit up really, really quickly. So that is the Autumn Blush Shawl by Joji Locatelli. And then this one is mostly a skein of yarn that I'm going to show you because I just plan on making a pair of vanilla socks. My 15-year-old will be 16 in a couple weeks, Ian. He loves hand knit socks and he loves blue, and he picked this color out of my stash a little while ago so I could make him some socks. And this is Yarn Indulgences in their Z Soft Sock, which is 80% superwash merino, 20% soft touch nylon, 420 yards, 115 grams. And they are a Canadian company. And I believe I got this in one of my sock crate things that subscriptions that I got from my kids. So I have that set aside, and I'm going to make him a pair of socks. I'd like to have, I don't know if it's going to happen because it's already, November 11th today. It's Veterans Day. So I don't know if I'm going to have these done by his birthday, which is the 26th. That gives me 2 weeks. I have made a pair of socks in 1 week before, but we'll see how devoted I am. He might get them sometime in December before Christmas, but I definitely want to cast those on soon. And then my youngest son has been bugging me to cast on a new sweater for him. So these are the colors we will be using. I picked out. It's hard to see, it's a little dark. There, that's a little better. So this is Berry Fun Yarns in the Berry Tough Confetti and the Mohair Silk, and it is the Rainforest colorway, which I love. It turned out fabulous. When I dye this is a dandelion dye that is over dyed in indigo, I believe. Pretty 100% sure that's what it is. But dandelion is one of those colors that when you dye it normally by itself, it's sort of like a, I don't know, the color, it's okay, but it's not very vibrant. It doesn't have a real, it's more of kind of like a yellowy, greeny brown, like, for lack of a better explanation, like a baby poo brown, yellow, green. I don't know. It's not pleasant, in my opinion. But if you over dye it in indigo, a light bath of indigo, you get this beautiful rainforest green, which I love. So indigo, I have to say, I have not been dyeing very much. Oh, let me finish this first. So this is going to be a Flax Light by Tin Can Knits, but with mohair, held double. So what I was going to say is I have not been dyeing. In fact, I have had very little, if even any, dyeing mojo for natural dyeing. However, I do love indigo dyeing. It is one of my most favorite things. So I love when you make a color and you dip it in there, how it changes into something different. But even if you have a yellow that you dip in there. It does give you a green, but the shades of green, from like a deep forest green to a rainforest green to a kind of a teal blue green, the variety is amazing, and it changes every time. There are some that are more regular than others, but being able to kind of experiment with that is one of my favorite things to do. So even if I don't always do a ton of dyeing because of my summer allergies to pollen, next year I will be doing some indigo over dyes because I do love doing that. So I think that's it. Oh, one last thing on the natural dyeing front, Very Fun Yarns front, I am currently having a big thank you sale, a thankful sale online. Everything is, every yarn, not our canned goods. If you're a Firefly Berries customer as well, our canned goods are not on sale. But any yarn or sock blank or mini skein set is 25% off, anything in the yarn category, with the code THANKS25. And that sale goes until November 15th, so this coming Sunday. So if you are watching this podcast in pretty close to when I upload it, which hopefully will be tomorrow or later tonight, then you will have a couple days to get in on that if you have not already. But I don't usually have big sales like that, maybe once a year. So if you are looking for some yarn, there are lots of beautiful colors in the shop right now, and they would make a great gift for yourself for Christmas, or just because, or a gift for another person in your family, or friendly circle of knitters, or whoever that you think would enjoy some natural fiber dyed naturally. So I think that's it. I have chattered on long enough, and I think my youngest son is waiting for me to come downstairs and have lunch with him, so that's what I'm going to do. I hope that wherever you are happy and healthy and well, and that you are enjoying some sunshine and having lots of fun and success making beautiful things. So until next time, thank you so much for stopping in to see what I've been up to, and I hope to see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.